For me, growing up, the dance floor saved my life, I think. I could be in the studio working to 1 a.m, and I would then go to the club and literally work it out.
There is something in the act of bodies moving that is a different kind of like problem solving, proclaiming like I am here and like, that these bodies matter.
It was very tribal. It was very out of body. It was very liberating.
Kind of Black power through performance.
In Old Irving Park, we live and work in the space called Facility. I was interested in having a platform to bring art to the community. And then behind the wall was where the studio and the making and ideas were created.
I love the city so much, even when it makes me angry. Chicago being the birthplace of house music, right? And that it was really young people and queer folks and queer Black folks who innovated that. They are not welcome in a lot of the downtown spaces where clubs are. Folks talking about being asked for like multiple forms of ID or like all these kinds of barriers to access. So what they decide to do is to create their own with these kind of membership parties for younger queer folks, mostly Black, some brown folks.
There was that rhythm, that beat that would just penetrate just so within. To be able to be free-spirited on the dance floor was like everything. Nothing was judged. It just allowed me to step into a level of my queerness that just validated. Every morning that I woke up, I can step out and be fully authentic in whoever I needed to be and be confident in that part of my body and existence. You may grow up not having a lot, but let me tell you, style was everything. And that's all part of a spiritual sort of identity of self that, no one can really take your spirit away. And so how do you sort of use it as a way of expression? This is a reliquary of what I saw as a kid, that sort of tool wall. It's not that I understood at that particular time what their functions were, but I knew that it got us to a particular place. My first grandfather, as well as, my grandmothers, they set that groundwork. They were makers, quilt makers, furniture makers. I'm carrying on that sort of legacy in a whole different way. And, I was able to sort of see that process, using making as a way of sort of arriving to this place of comfort and contemplation. Dress has always been this sort of form of protection, a way of concealing the soul.
You get a sense of Black diaspora in Nick's work. So yes, I did my work prior when I was in academia was looking at different dance, and part of that was looking at carnival tradition and the use of costumes and masks to kind of extend the body as a way to kind of think of jubilation and joy and casting off like the prior year's crap and moving into renewal into the next year and cycle. And I feel like I can see parallels in Nick's work, using costuming as a layering or extension of the body to kind of augment, allow another aspect of oneself or ego to come through.
So the question is why? What is it for? And, as I sort of started to pursue that work, I realized that it was more about performance and sort of creating happenings. I was thinking about, just volume and flow and movement with just cloth. I'm sort of always asking myself, where's the body positioned within the experience of the work? And I'm sort of in this form of offering you something. Well, is your body open to that moment? The sort of availability and accessibility of ourselves to be receivers or to be accountable for one's action. So it's about an elevation, it's about a rise to the occasion, to the moment, and stepping into that sort of foundation and being present. Movement comes in my work on so many levels. It may be through how color is arranged, and through that there's rhythm. But, it's brushed in a way that it creates movement on the surface. So, there's this visceral sort of sensation.
I mean, one of the things that I was drawn to was this kind of continuum between the mundane and everyday, and then the fantastical, the spectacular, that those things are existing together. We are talking about the everyday, we're talking about the challenges, most often of underserved, marginalized folks, and kind of telling those everyday stories like that existing in Nick Cave's work, and that the presence of those ideas in house and kind of disco culture are so incredibly clear.
I think as artists, we have to sort of understand why we're here and what is it that we're here to do. And so I know that I'm here to use art as this vehicle for change. So I have to somehow come up with ways of working that sort of breaks down these divisions.